everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. I think I've kept you waiting long enough for my pick of the week video, but before I kick off with that, I forgot to say something in my main comic book review video, and that was about Nate Simpson's NonPlayer, which issue 2 came out after a huge hiatus. And at the time of me doing that video, I hadn't actually read it because I wanted to pull out issue 1 to reread that and kind of re-familiarise myself about what the title was all about. And then when I read it, I was kind of like, oh god, I need to talk about this now. So I'm kind of tagging that on to the end of this video. So if you don't care about AUTUMNLANDS, you don't read it, you don't think it's worthy of a pick of the week, shame on you, but skip on a bit and hear my thoughts on NonPlayer. I hope it's worth it. I think it is. So this week, of course, my personal pick of the week from my pull list was AUTUMNLANDS issue number 6. We can't call it Tooth and Claw anymore. This is the end of the first story arc, and what a climactic, action-packed ending it was, as our human champion and the kind of buffalo tribe come and meet up to parley. Of course, we all know they both have devious plans afoot to beat down the other and get to our kind of anthropomorphic characters and kind of pillage their already crumbled from the sky civilization. So it is kind of interesting within this issue how our kind of animalistic characters, kind of their reactions when they find out the champion's plans, but he is taking no prisoners here, as right towards the beginning, as Seven Scars and the champion meet up in the middle of this bridge, the champion sets off this huge explosives which causes the nearby cliff to crumble and start a kind of avalanche of rocks, and it kills a great deal of the Seven Scars tribe. And the animals are quite shocked at this, and I'm not sure how. I don't understand what they thought our champion was going to do. There was no way that this parley was going to go off without anybody getting hurt and killed. And so this leads into the kind of one-on-one fight with the champion and Seven Scars, which is which looks like, you know, we have this huge, massive mass of buffalo, kind of wildebeest type character, and our small kind of human champion, and you think, well, this is a no-brainer, but he gives as good as he gets, and it's made more dramatic because it starts raining and there's lightning, and it's all incredibly exciting and fun to read and watch as every panel goes on, and it's just like, this would make an amazing kind of animated show. We kind of find out where all that stolen magic went to, and it's here where certain other characters that have less than altruistic ideals, such as the counsellor, this owl character, who takes advantage of this situation, and he uses that stolen magic to make himself look the hero. He doesn't want this mere human to take all the glory, and by doing this he kind of removes our human champion off the board, so to speak, and we wonder if the champion is still alive. He's kind of made friends with the kind of I think it's kind of like a bull terrier, I forget the dog's name, but the dog character goes after the champion to try and rescue him. We see him no more. By the end of this issue, we kind of have this whole new dynamic to look forward to now, and I wonder what Kurt Busiek is going to give us in the next story arc. No doubt Image will probably take a little hiatus like they do while people catch up when the trade comes out, and then we'll kind of come back probably in a couple of months I'm guessing, and we'll have a little bit of a wait, which is a shame because this book is fantastic. I've enjoyed, and my interest in this has grown and grown with every issue. The art is just fantastic. It's Dewey, Belair and Comicraft. There is a much darker feel to it, a very foreboding feel, which kind of accentuates the dramatic effect of this particular story. All the animals are just so beautifully realised. I think artists probably find it very hard just to convey emotions and feelings and make all their characters of the human variety look different. But when you have what are unnaturally, I guess, kind of expressive creatures, to make them all have their individual characters and look a certain way and emote their feelings visually, I'm sure that must be even more difficult. But these guys on this book are fantastic. Pick of the week, certainly. So yes, I wanted to talk this week about a non-player issue number 2, a book I read a little bit after making my comic book review video on Friday. But I can't really talk about this without first discussing Non-Player 1, because there's probably a lot of people in our community that's only just recently come into it and are probably wondering, you know, Non-Player 2 came out this month, what's that? Because I never saw Non-Player 1. And that's because Non-Player 1 by Nate Simpson came out 4 years ago. It looks like, you know, the 4 or 5 months that we have to wait for Neil Gaiman's Sandman doesn't seem so harsh anymore, does it? Because this was quite the exciting new Image title. It was, I'd say at a time that Image was just coming to the fore again, where they were bringing out all these new issue 1s, and this was kind of one of the first Kickstarters that kind of pushed Image into the limelight again as an independent publishing company. The book, solely created by Nate Simpson, he had crafted this gorgeous fantasy realm, but with a twist which you discovered towards the end of issue 1, and that was the fact that this was actually all a very sophisticated virtual reality game where you were literally inside the game, much like the kind of manga and anime books and the cartoon shows like Sword Art Online and Log Horizon. It introduced us to our main female character, Dana, who is kind of a delivery girl by day and an elite assassin in this this Lands Unlimited game. It introduces two other players whom we've yet to learn their kind of their real identities, but we had Queen Fendra and King Heramoth, who were both married. And in issue 1 we had Dana supposedly kill Queen Fendra in an attack, and scarred King Heramoth quite badly, but by the end of this kind of battle, this game, she gets killed. But it's that kind of game where you can then buy credit to bring yourself alive using, you know, game spells. So you don't actually die for real in this game. Maybe that's somewhere Nate wants to go later on. And it was just gorgeous to look at. Nate had really got an idea of the world he wanted to create, and it did come as a surprise towards the end of this when you realise none of this was real. And yet he still, and you find it in the second issue, which obviously I'll talk about a little bit more later, he didn't forget about the real world and completely gave us a fully realised real life environment too. He put effort into on both sides. Now this was at the time destined to be one of the next big Image hits. But it disappeared. Issue 2 just didn't turn up. And I'm sure, like most of us, this got taken off my pull list and replaced with something else because I thought it was never going to come out. There have been lots of stories and kind of rumours about what happened. What I gather is the kind of instant fame that the book brought the creator Nate Simpson got too much for him, and I guess he kind of got a creator's block and he just couldn't bring out NonPlayer 2. And then he had a baby, he had a family, obviously had to get a job because he wasn't working, he needed to feed his family, and eventually 4 years down the line, NonPlayer 2 came out. Now, did it live up to the first issue expectations? Obviously there was a lot of high expectation to this book. An artist's style can change kind of from year to year. Was it going to be have changed so much between 4? And I don't think it has. In NonPlayer 2, Nate Simpson shows us the real world for the most part in this issue. He introduces us to the creator of this Lands Unlimited game, Jeff Homer, which is an insanely popular game, but it comes with its own kind of controversies, because although there are these billions and billions of people playing the game, it is a fully realised world where there has to be kind of non-player characters, and these are artificially created, but some people think they're not as artificial as one may think, and it's kind of the rights of a non-player is kind of brought to the fore on this. There is this kind of middle section which kind of reintroduces Dana at the end of it, but we have this hostage situation, but again it shows more of this world, this real world that we live in, that is full of these big ass robots, these kind of cop robots coupled with human police, and it's just so gorgeous to look at. We get a little bit towards the end where we're back in this fantasy game realm where King Heremoth is not happy. He believes his wife, the Queen, has died. He has been scarred across his face and his eye. But we have a soothsayer who confirms to Heremoth that the Queen might not be dead. And she draws a picture of Dana out of charcoal, a burnt out torch on the floor, and this kind of finishes the issue off, but to a cliffhanger that, you know, Dana's life could be in peril again. Whether this is in the game or not, it's so well realised, this fantasy game, that you just kind of believe it's real. Nate Simpson has done a fantastic job on this, and it's such a shame that the kind of instant attention and fame affected him in such a way. And I mean, it's interesting in our society in general. I mean, this happened to the guy who created Flappy Bird. That got so insanely popular, but he wasn't ready for that kind of attention and fame, and he withdrew it from, you know, the kind of Apple Store or the App Store or whatever, and he just shied away from it all and became incredibly affected by it. So it is quite strange in our society where, you know, the majority of people want their kind of 15 minutes of fame. They want to be on reality shows, however awful they can be. They want to be the next big pop star, and they go on The Voice or they go on The X Factor, and they fully expect to be hugely famous. But then we have this small kind of group of people who just want to do what they love and share it with people in a very kind of positive and very unself-centered way. So I hope we don't have to wait another 4 years for issue 3 of NonPlayer. I kind of fully support Nate Simpson in his endeavours to create issue 3, and I know he wants to do his very, very best in producing a product that not only he can be proud of, but we can be proud of as owning. And that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Until next week, bye bye.